Welcome to Startup Stories, where we go behind the scenes of some of the most interesting and innovative tech startups in the world. Each episode will bring you in-depth interviews with entrepreneurs and business leaders sharing their personal stories on success, failure, and everything in between. So whether you're an entrepreneur yourself or someone that's just generally interested in the world of startups, then Startup Stories is the perfect place for you to gain insight and inspiration into some of the most exciting players in the game. So sit back, relax, and join us on a journey of startup stories. Hi, Philip. Welcome to the Startup Stories podcast. Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
Glad to hear it. Now, for the audience, could you give them a brief introduction into who you are?
Of course, yeah. I'm Phillip. I'm one of the co-founders of Famedly, basically a communication solution for healthcare. And yeah, I'm a medical doctor. So before I started the company, I studied medicine, also finished that. But then I was so annoyed by all the processes that we have in German hospitals that I decided to fund my own company together with a friend, and that's what we did, and that's what Famedly is today.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do, I'd like to run it right back to your childhood and your earliest memory to really get to understand, why you think the way you do, the way you operate, and everything in between. So when you think back to your earliest memory, what comes to mind?
Probably when I was in kindergarten. I didn't have many friends, actually. I was actually already bullied in kindergarten. And but nevertheless, I had a very, very happy childhood because my parents were very supportive, very loving, very caring. And I had three little brothers and sisters. So I always had them to play with, and yeah, that's basically my earliest childhood. But then I went to school, and there I made my friends. In primary school, I made my first friends, and everything changed from there on. But I remember that already kindergarten was a little rough.
Where did you grow up initially? Was it in Germany or?
Yeah, I grew up in Germany in a little village near Frankfurt. It's 80 kilometers from Frankfurt.
When you were growing up, did either of your parents have a particularly big influence on you?
Yeah, of course. So my dad, he was always working. Basically, even you could say he was a workaholic. He worked a lot. Had his own company together with his brothers as well. That was, of course, a role model for me then later. And my mother, she was a stay-at-home mom, and she took care of us very, very passionately. So she devoted all of her time to us, and was trying to protect us from everything. But let us make our own experiences as well. So she wasn't not what we call a helicopter mom in Germany. So she wasn't hovering over us all the time, but she gave us a lot of freedom. So that for us was, I think, for me, those two extremes, one being that one of the parents being there all the time, being very supportive, and then my dad, who was also supportive and everything, but always working, rarely there. He managed to bring us to bed every evening, but yeah, probably both of them had a huge influence on me.
So kind of a very traditional household then, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was very traditional. Yeah, that you could say that.
Okay. So how would you have described yourself as a child growing up?
I would say I was quite a silent kid for a long time, so I was very introverted, but that somehow changed, and I was never the brave one, actually. So I never, especially when we were playing outside and everything, I wasn't the one pushing the limits, actually, but my little brothers, they were trying everything out. They were jumping from the highest trees and everything, and then of course I wanted to do it too. So I was always following them a little bit more as a child. And of course, but what I took care of them, like with my brothers and sisters. Whenever something bad happened or something, I was always like trying to protect them as well, trying to support them with everything. This was always my thing, like being there for my brothers and sisters. Basically, I would say that's the most important character traits for me as a kid.
What was your first ever job?
My first ever job. That's a tough one. I think I worked in my father's company, and I did some mixture of internship and work. So I was in the. So they had a foundry at that time. So it was really hard work, like. Making the sand forms, like where you could put in the hot iron as a foundry machine. So basically, I think this was the first job. I must have been 15 or something.
What did that teach you?
It basically taught me what real labor is like, what real work is like, what I do, what most of us do every day on a computer, and it's just a different kind of work. It taught me that there's so many jobs out there where you actually have to put in your force, your whole body, and not just your mind to work. So that was a very interesting experience, because before that, of course, I was reading a lot, and I was like doing a lot of stuff for school, but like this really work with my hands, I hadn't done so much before. So that was really a learning experience for me there.
Now, I'm quite intrigued about your entrepreneurial journey, of course, and you've been the co-founder of Famedly since 2018. Has entrepreneurship always been in your DNA, or was it something that you stumbled across later?
Well, I guess it's difficult to say, because of course, so the company I told you, my dad, he was working in his own company, he owns his own company together with his brothers, and this company had been in our family, or my family owned this company since 1790, so like over 200 years. So I guess we kind of have that in our DNA. But then I took a completely different route. I went to go studying, because I didn't want to have anything to do with machines and everything. The stuff that my dad's company is doing, they're building machines. So I didn't want to have anything to do with that. And I was pretty convinced that I'm going to be a researcher at some point at some research facility. Started to study medicine, but then during the studies, I kind of realized, like the processes and the hierarchies and everything you have in the hospital, probably not really for me. And then I started to think about what can I do, and I realized probably it's in my nature to have my own business, or be my own boss, and actually try to change something in the world for the better by having my own project, my own business. And I guess so that the circle closed itself probably, and I had to understand that it is in my DNA. I always thought, since I was 16 or 17, no, that's not for me. And then around 10 years later, I had to realize, or be honest to myself and say, okay, probably it is in my DNA. And so I started to build my own company from there.
Can you think of a pivotal moment in your life that made you the person that you are today?
Probably I have to go back to my childhood again, because it's something that I really remember very vividly. Is in primary school, it was second class, I think. I was so fed up with people bullying me that I beat up basically the whole classroom. So, and after that, they kind of accepted me. So I think that was a very pivotal moment for me to see, hey, you have to stand up for yourself. Sometimes you have to show your strengths and everything. So I think that was very, very influential for me, that moment. Yeah, probably that's a good example. Of course, afterwards came other moments, friends that I met in school, or like actually that first moment where we actually founded the company and saw, hey, this could work and everything. So of course there were a lot of moments that changed me or made me who I was. But I think that's probably the first moment that I actually remember that made me the person that I am today.
Yeah, that's a huge moment, even though it's from, one of your earliest memories, but that's a huge moment. It lives by the example of saying that nobody else is going to save you except yourself. And that's exactly what you did there. And obviously that could be applied into the business entrepreneur world for sure. So yeah, really interesting. All right. So Famedly, I'd love to dive into a little bit about the company. Walk me through the career path just before that led you, before you founded Famedly. So I see that you had quite a lot of work before that experiences. So walk me through that career path.
So we basically started a company out of right after university. So I studied medicine together with my co-founder. And what we did right before was we were studying for our final exams, and we were like sitting together in the library, learning together, and then we always had lunch together. And we were talking about what is actually annoying us about the healthcare system in Germany, and we were thinking about how to change it. And we had a couple of other ideas that we were thinking about, but then in the end of the studies you have to do 1 year of work experience in the hospital actually. And I went to Moscow for 4 months, did one part there. I went to Buenos Aires, did a part of the year there, and then I went to Berlin, did part of the year there, and realized in the end, okay, the problems are pretty similar all over the world, and you need to digitize the healthcare system basically everywhere. And that kind of gave me the last push to say, okay, let's try it, let's do it. And then also I was talking with Niklas, my co-founder, and we were saying we have to do it now, or otherwise we'll be in a job where we get paid very well as a doctor and probably we won't do it ever again. So that made us do it in the end.
So now you've started this company, Famedly, in 2018. Where was you when you decided, like, I've got this idea, and what gave you the confidence to believe that you could turn this idea into a reality? Because many people have ideas, but just most of them do not action it.
Yeah, so what we did is actually an interesting story. We were in Frankfurt where we studied, and we were saying, okay, let's try to get some funding from some government funding for that. And in Frankfurt, we didn't manage to get any funding. So we said, okay, let's go to Berlin. Berlin is a startup capital, so very naive. And we came here and we said, okay, I think it was in summer 2018. And we said, okay, let's spend half a year until the end of 2018. And if we see a path how it can be done, then we'll keep going. And so we came to Berlin, we managed to get government funding here, and then we said, okay, the government funding is for half a year. If we have, after this, we still have the perspective to actually found the company, make it work, then we'll keep doing it. And so we kind of set ourselves milestone after milestone, and we all achieved those little milestones. And so after funding the company, actually we thought, okay, this can work, because we had the milestone of getting the money to fund the company, having our first customer. That was like the next milestone, and then we managed to do this and kept going, and that's basically what we always do still. Like the next milestone is going to be our next funding round, right? And so we always have this feeling, okay, if we don't achieve the milestone, we'll have to stop. But we always managed to get all the milestones done. So we're still here, we're still doing it. And with every milestone you achieve, of course, your confidence increases that you actually can make this work and can make it work on a bigger scale even.
And your co-founder, you as you said, you started your career basically together, right? How important do you think it is to your success having a co-founder like the one you have?
I think it's extremely important. I couldn't have done it without him. I couldn't keep going without him, because we're just a great team. He can do stuff that I cannot do. I can do stuff that he cannot do, and there were a lot of moments during the journey so far where like one of us was already thinking about giving up, and then the other one had to help them up and like encourage them to keep going. So it was really kind of the partnership you want in a founder's team. So I'm super happy that I have him, and I think it's just the other way around the same way.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I mean, I think I've talked about this on a previous episode as well, that whenever I talk to founders of their own company that don't have a co-founder, they said, I wish I had someone besides me just to lean on, to communicate things out, get the negative thoughts out when you're in that moment. It's priceless, right?
Yeah.
To have that kind of partner with you in the business.
You need,
Absolutely.
I mean, you need that, or you need to have some friend at least. If you don't have a co-founder, you need someone in the company. I don't know how people do it alone. I really don't know.
Yeah, and even I think again I've said this before. Even the ones that do it alone usually hire someone to be their right-hand person. Effectively, yes, they might be paid a really high salary, but they're basically in it from the beginning and their right-hand person. So if you don't have a co-founder, that is obviously the next best thing to do.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So you started this business then. You started this Famedly then, and what were the unexpected challenges that you faced when starting a startup that perhaps you did not expect?
I guess how hard sales is. I think that was we didn't really expect that. So because it just takes like B2B sale, enterprise sales is really hard. It's really exhausting, and a lot of things don't work. You think like if you get if somebody says to you, yeah, we're gonna do this together with you, the project, and you actually assume that they're gonna push through with it, but they won't. They just didn't want to tell you no. So I guess for me personally, the biggest challenge was and still is like doing the sales. Obviously, we're becoming quite good at this because we're growing our turnovers. But for me, this was really unexpected how hard it actually is, and how much perseverance you have to bring, how much effort you have to put into it, how much endurance you need to keep this forward, to keep pushing those deals forward. That for me was actually something that I didn't think would be that hard.
Yeah, and I have to again completely agree with you on that one. Sales is in every single part of our lives, even in the non-professional side of things, and unfortunately it's crucial. So yeah, very valid point there. When you're building your team out, you're almost 5 years now. How many employees are you now?
We are 36 at the moment.
Okay, and what have you found what challenges have you found with building the team to where it is now?
I think the biggest challenges are if you grow, like if your team grows, right? You have to establish processes, and we were growing faster than our team than we were like implementing processes. So we had, especially in the end of last year, beginning of this year, we had a huge mess. Like we were so many people and nobody really knew what to do. And of course the mood was getting worse and worse, and we needed to change something, and we needed to implement processes, and we stopped hiring people and were focusing on establishing these processes. And this was really, I mean, everybody tells you, like, if you scale a company, you have to have those processes, you have to have them in place before you grow, actually, and you just cannot hire so many people and then expect it to work. Everybody tells you that, but then you're in the situation where you are hiring and you are onboarding people, and you think like, okay, it's not working fast enough, I have to bring in more people. And you find yourself in this situation where you did exactly the wrong thing, where what everybody told you before, and you didn't realize while you were doing it, it's actually happening right now to us. And that was something that was kind of a challenge, but I think we overcame it now very good in the last 6 months. Mood is increasing again, productivity is increasing again, but that was really a challenge, like accepting at first that we kind of did the same mistake that everybody told us about, that everybody warned us about, and we had made this mistake. Like accepting that and then doing something about it was like was a challenge for us, I think, but we managed to do it.
And also, I mean, the fact you've been going, startups, I can't remember the stat, it's a crazy stat, like something like 90% of startups don't make it out past the first year or 2 or 3 years, whatever it may be. So congratulations, already surpassing
Thanks.
that. What would you put your nearly 5 years of success down to?
Well, I think that's not so easy to answer. I think, of course, like dedication is always important. Like you have to dedicate a lot of your time, a lot of your energy into the startup. So it's not gonna work alone. Then of course, something that also everybody tells you, but it's true, is you have to hire the right people. You have to find the right people to work with. You have to integrate them into a team. You have to, like form a team, like make a team out of individuals, out of the right individuals. And the last thing, of course, I think is you have to have a little bit of luck as well. So you can work as hard as you want, you can put in the right people, but a little bit of luck you need in the end. And you shouldn't be too depressed or too desperate if you're not gonna make it. Maybe you're just lacking this little bit of luck. So that's something that I always also tell other founders, right? It's just part of the equation. You cannot take it out of it. A little bit of luck needs to be there. Of course, if the other things are not there, if you're not putting in the effort, and you're not putting in the right people, then it's not going to work either. But you also need this little bit of luck.
Agreed. I mean, one of my favorite quotes is the harder you work, the luckier you get. Meaning you fall upon lucky opportunities because you're working so hard. So that kind of correlates with what you said at the beginning, your determination with the business, which I have to commend you for. You talked about one of the things you have to get right is hiring the right people. So set the scene for me, because you're absolutely right. It's so crucial. In fact, probably the most crucial thing is getting the right people in the business. So let's set the scene. When you're perhaps hiring, what is in particular, besides the skills that you expect them to have, that you're hiring for? What is it you're looking for in their character that makes you think, you know what, you're a Famedly employee, definitely?
So what's really important for us as a company is that you're open-minded. Like we have open-minded in different meanings, right? Open-minded through new forms of work. We have a remote-first culture, open in new forms of living. We have a lot of people of the LGBTQ community working at Famedly, so you cannot have any problem with this. You have to be open to new technologies. We're trying out a lot of stuff with different technologies. You have to be, I think being open-minded is very, very important to all of us. And another thing that's important is some kind of passion for healthcare, right? We work in healthcare, and this needs to be important to a Famedly employee as well. And nearly all of I think mostly all of Famedly employees have had some experience with the weird processes and the weird workflows we have in healthcare, especially like receiving faxes from hospitals, or having to bring their results from one doctor to the other on paper because they cannot send it to each other. And so nearly all of our employees have made those experiences and are trying to or want to change something about that. And so that's also a very important factor, to have that intrinsic motivation to change something in the healthcare sector.
You mentioned earlier, I want to run it back slightly. You mentioned earlier about the importance of having your co-founder, your partner, because there were times where each of you have probably felt like giving up, which was kind of correlated with my next question. I was going to ask you, what would you say has been the hardest times since growing your startup? And I want to try and connect that to when you felt like giving up. Why did you feel like giving up, and what were the hardest times that you faced?
For me personally, it was like quite early on when our first projects were failing one after the other, because our technology was just so bad in the beginning. It wasn't really working, so customers were really super unhappy, and I didn't really think that we were gonna make it. That we're gonna have the capabilities to improve the product as much that actually somebody would like it. And then my co-founder had like this confidence, because he's also like into this technology a lot more than I am, and so he was really giving me the confidence that we're actually able to pull it off, to get from this project phase where like everything was like we were running from one bug to the other, fixing one bug to the other, like that was everything we did. And so I really thought at that point, okay, we're never gonna have a product that we're gonna be able to sell, like, and this was really frustrating for me. And I was really thinking about giving up and just like let it be, like. And there was a time where he pulled me through and said, "Oh, see, we're gonna make it. We're gonna improve the product. We needed this feedback from the market. It was important, and now we know so much more. We shouldn't give up now." And maybe on the other hand, I remember one moment very, very well where a competitor of ours got a huge investment, and this was the time when my co-founder was actually thinking about giving up, and I had to give him the confidence, just like, yeah, money isn't everything. We can still pull it off. We have a lot of other factors that make us set for success. And that was two examples where I was where I was willing to give up, or he was willing to give up, and in those situations actually we pulled each other out of the misery, just so to say.
Yeah, I mean, grateful that you have both of each other. And can you imagine if you had have given up when you did? Now, considering what you've built now. So yeah, thank God you didn't. Cool. No, that's a great story. Okay, so talk me about the biggest highlight of your career so far with Famedly then. What's been the biggest highlight?
I think the first funding round, where I remember because we were sitting in this office, this really fancy office with a view on Potsdamer Platz in Berlin, with the huge glass windows, and we were looking at this, like we were drinking champagne together with the notary, and had this like first investment, and that was for us, I think, a huge highlight to see, hey, somebody just believes enough in us to give us so much money for the next steps of the company. And that was really a highlight for me as a founder. And then, of course, which keeps me going every day, is the positive feedback that we get from customers. When they say us, hey, this really makes our daily life easier. This really helps us to communicate better in the team. And those are the things that keep me running every day. But a real highlight as a founder, was this first funding round, because it was like, it could have been out of a movie, right? And that was definitely something that I enjoyed personally very much.
Yeah, I can only imagine. What a feeling. I've had other guests that also said their first funding round. I guess, I mean, you can tell me if it's any different, but I guess it's just like, it's confidence that someone else believes your product will work. Yeah. And they believe so much that they're willing to give you lots of money for it. So it's just a relief off your shoulders as well, I imagine.
Definitely. Yeah, I can definitely say that too. It's just, it's a sign of, I don't know, it's just, sometimes you need this confirmation from the outside. Sometimes you can be as self-sufficient as you want, somebody believing so much in you that they give you, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of euros. It's just gives you another perspective on your own work, on your own success.
Yeah, incredible. Was that funding round recently, or was that a little while ago?
The first funding round was in 2020, and we had the last funding round then last year, 2022. So we had two so far.
Okay, brilliant, cool. All right, so fast forward to today. What are the long-term goals and ambitions for Famedly? How far do you want to take it?
So I think what's really important to us is from product perspective, because at the moment we have a communication solution, but we want really a process optimization tool in the end, and that's something to really help doctors save time, nurses save time during their daily work life. We are already doing this, but we're still are driven by data protection regulations, and we want to make that switch over to really process optimization, really relieving the daily life of doctors, nurses, therapists. So that's, on the product perspective, really the ambition that we have. And I think from a company point of view, internationalization is something that we're looking at. So going to other markets is really something that I personally want to do with this company before maybe selling it in a couple of years. But for now, it's really going to other countries, developing the product portfolio, increasing the turnover. My goal, like my dream, would be to at least get over the 10 million yearly revenue. That would be a goal that I have for the next couple of years. Basically I think that's it. So commercially, internationalization, and hitting the 10 million in revenue yearly, and on on a product side optimization, like going from a communication tool to a process optimization tool, are the let's call it medium term goals.
Brilliant goals. What is going to be the key to get you from where you are now to there?
I think one thing, or the thing that we're focusing on at the moment, is like really getting marketing and sales to work more reliably. We're still depending on too many single customers there, so we need to make that broad, like build a broader customer base. That's on that side very important. And what I think on the product side of things, we need to become a little bit more efficient. We're trying out a lot of stuff, which is great, but I think we need to have a clearer path, a more stable roadmap that doesn't change so much, and just getting a little bit things in order on the product side. So that we can plan better on the product side, and then on the sales and marketing side, like really having reliable sales targets, sales income, because at the moment we're relying too much on single customers, single big deals that come in, and we just want to put this on a greater basis.
And from a personal standpoint, why do you consistently, every single day, do what you do regardless of how you feel?
I think, so for me it's two things. First, I want to really change healthcare. I think there's so much potential to make the healthcare system better. So what motivates me, so I studied medicine myself, and I think being a doctor is one of the most beautiful jobs you can have in the world, right? You're helping people get well again, and I think it's one of the most beautiful things you can do in the world. But the whole hierarchies, the whole processes around it are really making this daily life not so much fun for a lot of people, and I want to help give them the fun back, like really concentrate on what they're actually doing, taking care of people, of sick people. That's what they do, right? And they want to do more of that and less of the whole documentation stuff and what they have to do. And I want to help with giving them the purpose back, giving them the fun back, because I hear it so much that people are not really happy with being a doctor, and that's what drives me intrinsically every day. And then of course the second factor is I have 36 employees in the company, so it's 36 lives that rely on Famedly supplying them their income, right? And so that's something that's also, like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a burden, but it's a task for me. It's something that gives me purpose as well, to also take care of those people, right? Maybe tying back to where we started with my brothers and sisters, so where I was always taking care of them as a child also. Maybe that's something that I kind of project now on the people that work at Famedly.
Yes, definitely. I agree. So last question then. I always like this one. So let's just say, you know, there's someone here that's listening, and they've got a business idea. They really want to action it and turn it into reality. What's one bit of solid advice that you'd give them to make sure that they at least get off to a good start?
Just do it. So it's really that easy. Just start. Right? You can think about it a lot if you want. You can talk about it a lot if you want, but you actually just have to start. Right? That's the hardest part. Like, the first thing is to just start doing it, actually, and then you will realize your idea wasn't that good. You have to adjust. You'll have to adjust it a little bit here and there when you talk with people. But the thing is, you have to start, and then you have to keep going. So it sounds so simple, but that's also what everybody tells you when you talk with them, right? Oh, that's so brave to do it, and to found your own company and everything. But it isn't. You just have to do it, right? And I know it sounds so easy to just do it, but actually it is easy to just start and just do it.
Absolutely. I like that. Straight to the point. Just do it. Just give it a try. The worst that could happen is that it fails and then you go again. There's plenty more opportunities to make more money. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Philip. I really appreciate learning all about Famedly and yourself, most importantly, in the journey that you and your co-founder have been on. What a duo you two have. Look forward to following the rest of your journey with Famedly this year and the years after that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for listening to this episode of Startup Stories. I hope you enjoyed hearing from our guests and learning more about their journey in the startup world. I'll be back soon with another exciting episode featuring a new guest, so make sure to subscribe to Startup Stories so you never miss an episode. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media for updates and additional content. And if you have any suggestions for guests or topics you'd like to hear about, please reach out to me. And as always, I appreciate your support and feedback. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.